What are the Seahawks doing? Let's break it down. And as I said in the title of the video, don't assume my tone. I didn't yell, what are the Seahawks doing, in a frustration way as if it's an awful off season. I'm just simply asking the question, what is going on right now? And I want to break it down in a recap fashion and also give my thoughts, of course, of what's to come. And really, what are they trying to do? Is this planned by honestly missing out on a lot of the top free agents and the most expensive free agents? Or was it moving on to plan B and C right now? Now, that's where the interesting thing goes in, right? Is because you could see it in two ways. You might think that they just missed the mark. They let Jordan Brooks walk, they let Bobby Wagner walk, and all these different things, and they didn't assume that they were going to miss on Patrick Queen and miss on a couple other people, and now they're moving on to plan B and C, or this was all part of the plan, and they have a draft plan for it, and they know what free agents they're going to end up signing and what patchwork they're going to do. Now, they probably don't have the exact answer from day one. That's why it's free agency. That's why it's a frenzy, right? Everyone's throwing out different offers. Everybody's throwing out their pitches. You never know. Maybe the Seahawks made their offer to Patrick Queen. Maybe they made an offer to whoever else it may be. But that player decided to go elsewhere. Maybe it was a better contract. Maybe it's a city he'd rather be on. Maybe it's a coach he'd rather play for. You never know this scenario. But the Seahawks have had a very interesting offseason. Pretty much, it's been a lot of departures and not that many people back. And not many outside free agents coming in until today. And they aren't the biggest names, which is why a lot of people have posed the question, what are the Seahawks doing? Are they planning to compete? And the answer is, who knows? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Maybe they're willing to have a little bit of a down year and get some good draft capital and test the market next year and see what's going on with the quarterback situation. It's Geno's last year on his contract. There's a lot of things and a lot of moving pieces that we don't know about. But I want to go through pretty much what's happened in this offseason. And it all started about 2-3 weeks ago. Combine was coming up, and John Schneider, the Seahawks GM, essentially had two quotes that were very important to me. That Geno Smith is the starting quarterback until he's not. That's a big quote. And he said, very simply, he is not proud. He's not necessarily proud of the fact that they've only drafted two quarterbacks during his era. It was Russell Wilson and a 7th rounder, Alex Magoo, who has not seen the field as an NFL starter. So it was Russell Wilson pretty much. And they had a good quarterback, so they didn't have to go out and draft. But I know how GMs are, especially ones from the Packers. And he said that. I come from the Packers organization where we're used to getting quarterbacks. So there is a strong chance that Geno Smith is the starter until he's not, which is an obvious statement, but that could mean a lot more. Essentially, he is a 50-50 chance. It depends what happens in the draft. It depends what happens in the trade market. You never know where the market's going, right? There could be a trade option, like somebody like Justin Fields that really interests them. There could be so many different things. But at the end of the day, there is not a guarantee that Geno Smith's the quarterback this year, next year, and so forth. There's also a chance he is. It sounds obvious, but it's just the reality. He's going to have his roster spot in 2024, but who knows what the Seahawks are planning moving forward. Obviously, we can get to some of the obvious stuff very quickly. There was multiple moments or multiple cuts that happened pretty quickly. Jamal Adams got released. Quandre Diggs got released. Will Dissly got released. Brian Monet got released. That was one of those days where things were just starting to happen really quickly. We obviously brought back Dwayne Eskridge on a 1-year, $1.055 million contract, which some people were like, why do we even have to bring this guy back? Maybe they have a plan for him in the offense, kick return, different places. Not much of an opinion on that one. It's not a lot of money. We quickly after, 3 days ago at this point, restructured Tyler Lockett's contract, which was big because it brought more cap space to the team. It brought more opportunity to sign players, which we really haven't used that much yet, but we did make some good moves. and Tyler Lockett remains a Seahawk. And we move forward. We released Nick Bellore, fullback / linebacker / special team ace. Great Seahawk, but it was time to go. And then the departures from Seattle started to happen. Colby Parkinson signed a 3-year deal for $22.5 million with the Los Angeles Rams. Then Jordan Brooks signed a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Miami Dolphins. And we had a lot more departures. Drew Lock to the Giants. We had, on top of Drew Lock, right after DJ Dallas to the Cardinals. So it was a lot of just like back-to-back people going elsewhere. And then, of course, today we had Bobby Wagner, which is an interesting one to say the least. And before I get to who we've brought on in the signings, this is the one update that I wanted to get to, because this was part of the big updates today, was Bobby Wagner to the Commanders. A 1-year deal where he reunites with Dan Quinn, Ken Norton Jr. in Washington, not Washington State, but Washington, D.C. And I was actually kind of surprised. I think this was just the way for this staff, as in Mike McDonald, as in John Schneider, and everybody else involved, to move off the last era. Because moving off Bobby Wagner doesn't necessarily make sense to me based on the numbers. And by numbers, I mean a 1-year, $8.5 million deal that's only $6 million guaranteed. Now, if we had signed Patrick Queen, if we had signed Jordan Brooks, if we had signed somebody like that, I would totally understand. There obviously is other options out there, but there's not that many options for somebody that's as good as Bobby Wagner. And at that price, I think it was worth it. I thought the Jordan Brooks 3 years, $30 million was worth it. Now, I don't know if we offered them that and he just chose to go to Miami, but I thought he'd be worth that number. I thought Patrick Queen was worth his 3-year, $43 million contract. Once again, I'm not sure if we offered the same thing or close and he chose to go to Pittsburgh, but I thought those were decent contracts. And then once those two happened, I thought Bobby Wagner was back. Turns out he's not. He's going to Washington. I don't know. I'm assuming this was absolutely the Seahawks' choice of not bringing him back, because I would be surprised if he chose to go to the Commanders for $6 million guaranteed over staying in Seattle. So I'm assuming they weren't even offering Bobby Wagner a spot, which makes me a little concerned about what's the next move. There isn't that many available high-level linebackers. You're not going to find anybody that's as good as a veteran Bobby Wagner in the draft to start. So we'll get to this part here soon, but I don't know if they're actually 100% trying to compete. And when I said don't assume my tone at the beginning of the video, it's because when I say what are they doing, yes, there is part of that undertone that is saying, what are they doing? Like, are they trying to compete? Are they not? But it might not be in a negative way. Maybe this is their plan. And maybe they're going to blow me out of the water with some crazy, great signing or some awesome moves coming here soon. And we did make some impact moves, and that's what I wanted to get to. We did bring back Noah Fant on a 2-year, $21 million deal. I'm excited to see Noah Fant in Ryan Grubb's offense and in a new system in general, and being the only main tight end. He's not sharing time with Parkinson's or Disley. I'm sure they'll bring in somebody else to work in, but it'll be nice to see him as a guy who's involved in our offense. And they said themselves when they signed him, it was part of the press release or whatever, that they see him as an ascending asset, an ascending player. So it'll be awesome to see him incorporated the right ways this year. And then, of course, came the 3-year deal worth $64.5 million for Leonard Williams. Now, I think it's a good price based on the market. Is it a slight overpay from what I'm used to compared to the talent? Maybe, but that's just how the market works now. You pay based off of what the market offers, right? This is a great market price for Leonard Williams. He's going to be a staple on this defense. He's going to shore up that defensive line. He's going to make it a great defensive line. And we saw him be probably the most impactful person on that defensive line when he came from the Giants last year. So I love this move. I think it was important to do to have a good defense this year. You need to build from the inside out. I'm excited about that move, and I think it was the right choice. We went ahead and obviously, like I said, give some assurance to Noah Fant. We got our other tight end, who is Pharaoh Brown. I don't even know how to say it correctly. From New England, he got a $3.2 million deal for 1 year, which can go up to 3.9. There were a lot of moments. One, he is a good pass blocker. And two, there was a lot of moments where he looked like a great tight end last year. At some point in October, I saw this on Twitter, he was the PFF's #1 tight end on all PFF rating. Blocking with all the numbers combined overall. So blocking, protection, catching, all of it, fumble, scores. So he was actually having somewhat of a really good year with New England, but obviously the quarterback play was extremely questionable and the team was extremely questionable last year. But he brings a great blocking, giving Noah Fant a breather type of option for a cheap price. We're paying 3.9 maximum. We're not paying the $21 million of, a Colby Parkinson or a $14 million of a Will Dissly. So that was an important signing. And then this morning, we went ahead and signed Browns offensive lineman Nick Harris to a 1-year deal. He is a former Washington Husky, which is kind of cool. He's appeared in 40 career games, 4 total starts, but he's kind of moved around. He's been an offensive lineman. I've heard that he can move over to center sometimes, and he was a fullback at one point as well. He is not going to be a mainstay on the offensive line, but he will definitely be somebody you see a lot. I think it was kind of interesting. He has 4 career starts, but he's been in 40 games, and he's played a lot of snaps, actually. So he's been one of those guys that always is there, ready to fill in, which is always obviously great for your team. You need it. It has to happen, and we did it. We continued our cornerback depth with Artie Burns returning. It's good enough to have, and we obviously brought back Darrell Taylor, if you haven't seen that yet, which means we are running it back with our top 4 edge rushers from last year. Doesn't mean we cannot add more, but this is what we're running it back with. Uchenna Nwasu, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, and Darrell Taylor. Those were the top 4 edge rushers from last year, and they are all running it back for the Seahawks. They went ahead and brought in Noah Fant. Sorry, not Noah Fant. George Fant. George Fant is going to be a great insurance policy for Abraham Lucas. Fant is obviously a former Seahawk himself and is somebody that I think it's important to have right now on the offensive line because we need some insurance for Abe Lucas, because last year when Abraham Lucas went down, the offensive line got real sketchy. So George Fant's going to be an interesting situation this year. I'm not sure where he's going to be utilized when Abe Lucas is healthy, but he'll be one of those guys I'm sure we see out there a few times. More than a few times throughout the year. And they brought in veteran safety, Rashawn Jenkins. Now, a lot of people are happy about this move, and a lot of people think this means nothing. We need a lot of pieces on our team, including the safety position, which we just got. But I'd be shocked if this is the only move we're going to make at safety. I don't know if the Mike McDonald run Seahawks wants to go into his first season with Rashawn Jenkins and Julian Love as the 2 safeties. I could be wrong. He could see something special in this. The numbers show that he actually has some good benefits to him. So, and then, it's not. I'm not sitting here saying that he's not a good player. He's had sometimes. What was it last year? Rashawn Jenkins allowed just 1 touchdown on 677 coverage snaps and a pass rating of 63.7 when targeted in 2023. So he was good in coverage. There's probably some potential there. He's 30 years old, so he's not that old. He's like a Quandre Diggs age. And he might be a slightly underrated safety to be able to get in this market. So I don't know if they're sticking with that. I'd be a little surprised if that was like the final move we're making there, but I'm interested to see moving forward what they do. We obviously have huge gaps right now, though. The guard position's a huge gap. Linebacker's a huge gap. Safeties, 50-50-ish now. There's still a lot of moves need to be made, and I'm hoping in the next couple of days when I come out with my next video that there's some big move that happened and something that gets us pretty excited, because I think we need that. We need it pretty badly. And on top of that, today, just on top of everything else that happened, the Seahawks used an original round tender on Michael Jackson, the corner, so a 5th round tender, and a right of first refusal tender on linebacker John Rattingen. So pretty much they have the first right of refusal on if John gets offered a contract, and for Michael Jackson they can get a 5th rounder back based on the price, and it goes up by round based on the price. It's kind of complicated. You have to look up the free agent tenders explained if you really want a full explanation. I'm going to give you the definition. I know some people don't understand. I've had this question many times. But RFAs, restricted free agents, are free to negotiate with any and sign with any team, but the original team can offer them one of the various qualifying offers, tenders, that come with the right of first refusal and or draft pick compensation. If the tender is withdrawn by a team, the free agent becomes an unrestricted free agent. So it's almost like a tag of some sort. Unlike the franchise tag where you give them a contract, you're tagging that if this team's going to take you, we get that pick. If not, we have the chance to offer back the contract. We get the refusal and we can have you back and sign you. So it's kind of complex, but that's what happened with Michael Jackson. Overall, the quick summary of what happened today was George Fant, offensive tackle, signed with the Seahawks. Center/guard Nick Harris/fullback, and Rayshawn Jenkins. The Seahawks re-signed from the roster. Corner Artie Burns. Free agent tenders to linebacker John Rattingen and Mike Jackson. An extension for Darrell Taylor, and a departure from Bobby Wagner to the Commanders. So what are the Seahawks doing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're trying to fully compete, if they're trying to put an average product out there and compete enough. And for fans that get mad about those words, just remember, not every team every year is trying to win the Super Bowl. If they know that they're not quite there yet, they're willing to take a little step back to take 2 steps forwards the following year. And then there is the option that the Seahawks go make some big moves the next few days, and every doubt you have about them doesn't really matter anymore. That's also a possibility. We'll find out. I'm interested to see which one it is. But in the meantime, you got to like and subscribe. Be part of this. I'm going to try to come out with Seahawks videos almost every day of the week for you. So please like and subscribe, show support, and we'll see you next time. I love y'all. Peace.